The weird thing is from school is that I remember really liking poetry,
Mhm.
which kind of makes sense now because it's like rhyming and stuff and just like different like structures I was good at always. And like for some reason I could memorize all the poems and recite them.
Thank you. I'm Adam, and I appreciate you doing this. This is awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. This podcast is about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the latest single you put out. That's When I Knew.
Okay, cool.
Cool. First off, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in New York City.
Okay.
German parents. Yeah. So I went to school there till I was about 14, and then I moved to Zurich and did high school there.
Wow. Okay. So 14, and then you moved, where's Zurich? I'm so bad with geography.
Switzerland.
Oh, wow. Are you
Yeah.
in London now? I read you're in London.
Yeah, I live in London now, actually.
Okay. So you went from New York to Switzerland to now you're in London. Or was there more in between there?
A bit complicated. I don't know how much you want me to go into all that, but
Let's do it. I don't know. It's up to you. I mean,
I grew up in New York, finished high school in Switzerland, studied my undergrad in New Orleans, studied in Berlin for part of that for a year. Then I lived in Berlin. Then I moved back to New York for a job at a label for 2 years. And now I live in London.
wow, that's cool. That's cool. You're so well traveled. Well, tell me about growing up in New York. What part of New York were you in?
So first I grew up on the Upper West Side. And then we moved to the West Village and then Brooklyn. So we just kept going further down.
Okay. And did you come from a creative household?
No, not really. Like, no, we didn't do anything creative at home. That's like out of the ordinary, other than like kids playing, like
Sure.
coloring. I don't even know what kids play anymore.
Okay.
My dad likes to think he's like musical, but I can't even recall like any, like when people ask what I grew up listening to, I'm like, I don't really know. My parents weren't really like, listen to this music.
Oh, there wasn't anything like constantly being played throughout the house or anything like that.
No, not that I can remember.
What drew you to music? Like, when did you start playing?
Well, I was always in the church choir. Okay, no, I wasn't always in the church choir because that would mean I was always at church.
Okay.
I was in the church choir at school because when I lived in New York, I went to this school that had like church, had a church part of it, and we had chapel and stuff. So I was in the church choir.
Okay.
And then I was also in chorus and stuff because for some reason the brass instruments at the time didn't interest me. I don't know. I always was like secretly like loving singing, but I don't know why I felt like it had to be a secret when I was younger.
Okay.
I feel like because it's when you're young, it's like the audience will be brutal as in your classmates. Like I remember
sure.
be like, who wants to do the solo? And I'd be like, I can't do it. Everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've had a ton of conversations where the artists will say that their first concert or first like performance in front of people was like a talent show at school, and I'm like, that seems to me like the most, that seems so much worse than if you were to go to a coffee shop with 20 people that you have no clue who they are, or if you're ever going to run into them again. Yet you're going to go on a stage in front of your entire school, all your peers, and perform, and if you suck, you're going to be ridiculed from like the next day till the end of your schooling career.
No, that wasn't something I was willing to do. I don't even think we had talent shows, to be honest. I don't really remember if we had those, but then once I got older, other people started doing that, and then there was just the sense of, oh, I'm behind now because I don't know, I'm not allowed to curse probably.
No, you can cuss. You can say, yeah, totally cool.
I was like, oh, like I fucked it now and I'm like too old and like these other people are performing at like high school things and I know I could do it, but I haven't like practiced ever. So it's just too late now. And then I was like, every uni to get into that was like anything musical was like, you had to like have the portfolio. And I was like, oh, I haven't done anything but like make videos on photo booth and like show to people. So then I like, basically I went to Tulane and studied psychology there. Then after that, I was like, okay, I just won't like, because I'm not the type of person who can like I never was good at school. Like I could do it when I studied and stuff, but like I was never good at stuff that I'm not that interested in. And I was like, if I don't do anything musical related, I'm gonna be like horrible at everything I do.
Because that's what you're interested in.
That's not the reason I did it. That's kind of like the other way around. But I just was like, yeah, I need to pursue music now, basically. But I went more into the business side first because I still thought it was too late to be a musician. And I taught myself to DJ, and I was working at a label for 2 years and DJing alongside for 2 years. And I still was like, damn, this isn't going to work. I just need to try to be a singer, apparently, because none of these are fulfilling what I originally wanted to do. So, yeah, then I moved to London to study music at Goldsmiths, and I'm still here.
Wow. So you didn't start really writing songs until much later. I mean, you weren't writing songs in high school, or you said something about photo booth. Were those your own songs, or were you just doing like little covers and singing them, showing to your friends? Like,
I would do covers, but I also remember writing some stuff. But the weird thing is from school is that I remember really liking poetry, which kind of makes sense now because it's like rhyming and stuff and just like different like structures I was good at always. And like for some reason I could memorize all the poems and recite them, but like didn't do anything else at school. Like, okay, I'm not like, I wasn't bad at school. I'm just saying like I wasn't like thrilled about it.
motivated.
Yeah, I wasn't motivated at school, let's just say. I always had to be like, my parents were like, okay, are you gonna do anything? But yeah, I always liked poetry. And then I guess I started writing when I was working at the label. I would just like write stuff in my notes when I was just vibing at my desk. I don't want to say bored. And I kind of just realized that my poetry was kind of just like a bunch of like half songs.
Sure. No, for sure.
And it's just kind of interesting to see how it was hard for me to get from that to like writing pop music, because at first everything was so depressing that I wrote.
Okay.
And I'm also not really one who's big on analogies and stuff. I don't do that kind of stuff. I was just like writing like
literal
half verses and being like, is this a song?
Okay.
Anyway, I've come a long way since.
No. Yeah, no, for sure. So, okay, I'm curious. So you go to like, how did you get the job at the label? And then what does the DJing entail? Like, are you like, obviously there's such a spectrum now on electronic music and DJing, and were you playing just other people's records and just the person at the party, like kind of running the party, or were you coming up with your own beats? And like, what were you playing when you were DJing? How did you get into that? And then how did you get this gig at the label? Was that through your college?
No, I actually managed to get an internship at the label. It was at BMG.
Oh,
so
wow.
an
That's
internship
huge.
there. And then the team I was interning for, like the guy wanted to hire me, the boss.
The boss. Okay.
Hired me for a full-time job, and I worked there for 2 years. It was really great. I'm trying to remember that there were two questions at once. Okay.
Oh, no. So there's that part of it. So
I
you're working at the label, and then were you DJing? Like, how did the DJing thing happen? Like, was that all
okay.
kind of in that same time period?
Yeah, so I was in Berlin and I naturally wanted to be a DJ, as everyone does in Berlin. So
Okay.
I was studying some sound engineering stuff there and like teaching myself to DJ, but then I got the job at BMG. And obviously it was like, I have to take this job. So I moved to New York, but I wanted to like, I did want to keep DJing alongside just because, and I was playing house and techno, like beep house, techno, Berlin style techno.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I started playing in New York for 2 years and like, did more melodic techno too. And eventually I produced some techno tracks. I look back on them now and I'm like, the production's a bit weak, but I was trying. It was hard with a full-time job. Like I was always like exhausted and I was like, the last thing I want to do when I get home right now is have 1,000 technical difficulties on Ableton.
Sure.
So it was really hard, like in that sense, but I did manage to like produce a few songs. One of them I sang on, and then I would sing while DJing sometimes.
Oh,
And
that's cool. That's a kind of a cool, way to perform.
it's funny, my DJ career was actually going extremely well there until everything happened, obviously. But yeah, now I'm trying to get back into DJing here now though, because I've been focusing on my singing stuff. So
When you say everything happened, are you talking about like the pandemic hitting and all that? Or was there another
yeah,
event?
well, that and me moving.
Oh, sure. Okay. What was the move was just to continue going to school?
The move was just because I guess during like I was working from home like with my mom and sister in Corona for like a few months. And I don't know, it just was really hard because obviously had the realization that like the best part about it was my coworkers and I just wasn't even on calls with them. And it was, I don't know, I was like, this just isn't what I want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just like spent every day applying for every program possible that I could find that's like a practical music program, because all the ones I could find for masters were all like theory or classical music or just really advanced or specific stuff. And I was just trying to find any programs that I was qualified for. And I actually applied with like the things I produced, and working at BMG helped, and like all my like the DJing and stuff helped. And I eventually got into Goldsmiths in London. I don't know if you know it.
I've heard of it. Yeah, for sure.
To do a popular music masters, and I just finished that. So
Wow, congratulations. It's amazing.
thanks.
Yeah. So when do you like start releasing music? Like tell me about the first song you put out and what was that like? Like do you get to a point where you're like, okay, I like this is good enough? Are you showing people your songs before you decide to release it? Like what was that experience like?
So I've gotten better. I mean, the first song I put out is Stranger, and I love that song. Honestly, it's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I haven't made any other songs quite like that one still, but yeah, that one's really vibey, and we thought it was a good first single for like anyone to listen to. Like it has some like not hip hop, but like beat wise and like melody and like sound wise. There's just something for everyone in there, I feel. So it was a really good first single. I mean, a lot of people still say it's their favorite song, and I'm like, okay, I clearly
That's
do,
cool.
but like it's very different. But yeah, in the beginning, I would always show everyone every version because I was too excited, and then be annoyed at myself later when I was like, okay, well, I have the final now, but no one's gonna unhear all those other versions I said. I didn't like put it on mine, but I like showed my friends.
Your friends, right? Sure.
But now I don't even show anyone my new songs really until
You
they come.
just go for it.
Yeah. But now I've gone so many that I put out like try to put out one a month. And by the time they come out, I'm like, I wrote that so long ago. I'm just like, I would like forgot.
Right. I've heard the other artists talk about that, where it's like they release a song and it's like they're so over it at that point, right? You're like, I've heard this song so many times, but no one else has heard it. Or like you think that's good. Wait till you hear these other batch of songs that I've been working on for the past 6 months.
Yeah, it's almost like I just don't even want to listen to it.
But no one else has heard it.
I know. And no, like, that's still what we're saying. Like, so many of my songs are still like brand new. Like, the majority of the world hasn't heard them. So they're all new.
Yeah. So like, okay, you ended up putting out an EP, right? In last year?
Yeah, that was last December. Was that a year ago now? I think that was a year ago.
Okay. So you get a batch of songs together. Tell me about putting out the EP. Are you playing out at all at this point? Like, have you like went out and done any sort of live gigs on those songs, or like what was the process behind releasing that EP?
Oh yeah, no, I've done a bunch of gigs. I've done like 20 gigs this year, probably. And I play all those songs. I have a bunch of new songs now, and like most of the shows I book right now are like 30-second sets. I mean, 30-minute sets.
Oh, damn, that's fast.
So honestly, I don't always play the songs from that EP anymore.
A lot of newer stuff.
Yeah, but I always like to play Anxiety because that's just a meaningful one to me. And what else is on there next to me is good. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I released the EP and was just like either way playing shows all the time. It wasn't really like for the EP because the next month I started releasing more. Yeah.
Was there a song or a moment that you can recall where it was like a big validate or like a big victory for you? Like, okay, this kind of solidifies that I need to keep doing this. Because I mean, I would imagine at one point, if you just kept putting out songs and no one's reacting and no one cares or no one sort of shows, you're like, oh, like, is this even something I should consider continuing with? I should just do X, Y, or Z instead. Like, was there something that happened, or is it a lot of little things, or something that kind of really pushed you to continue going forward with this music career?
It's a good question. Do you mean in person, like at shows, or like
in any sense of the word? I guess in any way you want to perceive that. Like, just was there something that you were like, okay, I need to be doing this. This happened. I need, like, just any sort of validation that you received. What was kind of the thing, like a big one that you can remember?
I remember one show last year I played at Notting Hill Arts Club. That was this year, actually. This one guy was just like going so hard and like formed a dance circle, and just after was just telling me how much fun he had and all that. And I don't really remember the conversation fully, but he just was like really supportive of me and kept DMing me about the next shows and wanted to come. And that one's not that deep, but I've also like, I think song-wise, Anxiety has the most feedback. Like when someone comes up to me after a show and is like, I really felt that, like, that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, that makes it feel like I need to be doing it. But I also feel like I need to be doing it either way. But like, I don't know. The other day, someone did DM me saying that my songs like got them through a really tough time. And that was the first time that happened. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, that had to be real special. I mean, especially with a song like Anxiety to take on a subject like that and be vulnerable in that sense to people. Like, this is like, I don't always find that like so brave to write songs like that and put it out and just know that this is your truth and you're going to release it, and then see how other people kind of perceive that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that for me, it's easier to write than like I don't really. It's easier for me to portray those things in song, and I'm never embarrassed to sing songs that I've written that are deep and vulnerable like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just honestly feel like it's like a powerful thing.
No, for sure, for sure. But a lot of people don't have that kind of, you know, strength to do that,
Yeah,
confidence to do that, I guess would be the better word.
yeah. I mean, if I, it's funny because if I like went through something shit and write about it, and like I know a lot of other people had this situation, and like at least I got a song out of it, so I'm gonna use it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because it does help me like understand how I feel better, and then I don't know. I just like sharing that with people.
That's so awesome. And the most recent one, the song that you just released not that long ago, I believe, That's When I Knew. Tell me about that song.
I actually wrote that when I had corona.
Oh, that's when you knew you had corona.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh, that is when I knew I had corona. That one I produced more as a dance track. See, because I was having trouble going merging like dance and pop production wise,
Mm-hmm.
because the pop world will say, oh, like EDM, but
Right.
I don't like EDM. But then it's really hard to find a good balance because I really like singer-songwriting songs too, and like deep songs like that. And I don't want all my songs to be like 4x4 kick, like a dance track.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I thought that was like a year and a half ago now. I was still struggling more to produce pop songs. So that's why it became an electronic song. Uh, and yeah, the lyrics actually just came pretty quickly, just about a situation I had with someone a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I like the lyrics. I feel like they're kind of like badass.
No, for sure. It kind of, and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. To me, it has kind of like, I love the melody. It just like the backing vibe to the song kind of reminds me of like a earlier, like 1975 type vibe to the song.
Yeah, I was really into dancing on my own and stuff around that time. I mean, I still am. I love that song. It's like such a good song. I cover it sometimes in shows, but
Oh, cool.
I wanted to do something kind of like that.
Nice. Yeah,
So,
it's a rad. But I love how you have those electronic songs, but then you also have song like you do like, is it a crime where you have an acoustic version of the song? So it's like you show that you have definitely a lot of range in what you're doing as an artist.
yeah, yeah. I guess that comes with finding your sound and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It does make it difficult for the live show, though.
Oh, I bet. A little bit.
I want to land, but yeah. No, is it a crime? I wanted to do acoustic because that song was from like I don't know, that song just meant a lot to me when I wrote it, and it came like really from the heart. So
Mhm.
again, the production, I didn't know how to produce pop, so it was dance.
Oh, okay. And then you went with the acoustic version of the song as well.
Yeah, I just thought like Brian did such a good job on the guitar. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's a really cool song. Do you have like I mean, obviously you released an EP about a year ago, but you have a handful of songs that you've been releasing this past year and with a new one. Are you going to put these together into another project, or you said you have a lot of other songs? Are you going to release another EP? Do you have any plans for coming up? Like what's coming up in the future for you?
I don't have plans for another EP just yet. I mean, I've got all these singles that I put out. but I don't really think I want to put them into an EP.
Mhm.
I've got a remix EP coming out tomorrow, though.
Oh, wow. A remix of your own songs?
Yeah, you know my song Famous?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a remix EP of that song. There's like 3 different remixes. It's coming out tomorrow, but it's premiering right now. I just got the link.
Oh, rad. Cool. So you said how many different versions? 3?
Yeah, there's 3.
That's awesome.
Kind of just for so like DJs can play it in clubs and stuff, and also because I'm starting a club night here in London, and I was
You
like,
are.
yeah, and I was like, I want to play some of my songs, but obviously I don't play pop, so I'm gonna play remixes of my songs.
Was that a fun project?
Yeah, it is fun. The remixers did a really good job. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see the reaction.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this today, Sophie. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Advice for aspiring artists? Oh,
Advice for aspiring artists. Like, what have you learned anything that you could pass forward to somebody that's maybe considering doing this or is trying to do this, and like anything you've learned?
So it can be hard to find people who like, because I struggled with finding people even who produce because I just didn't know how to start.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just keep asking people, keep like, if you see anyone doing stuff online, DM them asking how they did that, like where they got something, like who they talked to do that. Like, I know that's very vague, but like, they'll tell you like, oh, like I learned this here, or like this guy showed me this, and then eventually you'll land with someone who will help you. That was so vague. I'm sorry. That was so shit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like, for instance, when I was looking to get like press as a musician, I couldn't find it anywhere. I didn't know for like a year. I just like asked everyone I saw getting press on Instagram how they got it, and then got passed along to person to person to person, just like emailing everyone I could, and eventually you like find someone who actually will help you.